Hi everyone, welcome to the video. In this video, I'm going to be going through basically the different ways you can source Amazon FBA wholesale products, okay? And for each of these three ways in which you can source Amazon products when it comes to wholesale business, I'm going to be going through the common mistakes that people make, addressing the issues and how you actually want to source when it comes to each of these methods. Okay, now the first one is supplier first. Okay, so this is where we are going out and locating our wholesalers, distributors first, opening up accounts with these guys, and then from there going through their price lists and looking at what sort of stock you can get from them, which is profitable, and what sort of stock you can source in from these suppliers, which is profitable. Okay, so that is the whole action of finding these suppliers first, whereby we locate our suppliers, open up accounts, and get access to the wide variety of products which they hold. Okay, now what are the common mistakes when it comes to locating the supplier first? This is very simple. People contact or people find very saturated suppliers, very easily accessible suppliers, which everyone can find with literally a Google search. Now, where that will leave you is you'll get accounts open with these suppliers. And then once you've got access to their pricing, you will realize nothing is profitable because these suppliers are just simply way too saturated. So we've got to think, okay, these products are too saturated, nothing's profitable. And even if something is profitable that you find on this price list from this really easily accessible supplier, don't buy it, because I promise you within a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks of this product going active on your store, it will tank just because of how easily accessible the supply is that you got it from. Because with wholesale, essentially what the whole goal is, well, it's basically the products that we source are higher barrier to entry, more difficult to locate, harder for other people to source. These sorts of products, okay, will give us longevity and sustainability within our business. So that's a common mistake there when we're finding our supply first. The suppliers are way too easy to find. So how can we address this issue? Okay, we've got to think, okay, we want to find suppliers other people aren't finding. We want to go out there and find suppliers we can actually develop relationships with, suppliers that can actually give us profits over the long term. Okay, so how can we actually address this? It's by very simply developing strategies and methods to find unsaturated suppliers all around the world, suppliers other people won't find by doing a Google search. Very simply put, suppliers that have been in the game for years, that don't care about being on Google, that have relationships directly with these manufacturers and have done so for the last X amount of years. Okay, that's how we're going to address this issue, because it's these suppliers which are going to get us products and prices other Amazon sellers can't get, which then will result in consistent long-term profits for us. Now, how to actually source these products? Okay, well, like I've touched on, it's to develop strategies to find unsaturated suppliers. Develop strategies to find suppliers no one else will have the ability to find because everyone else is looking on Google. Okay, one example of this is, for example, let's say looking at trade shows. I have over 20 strategies which I cover in my wholesale program on how to find wholesalers, suppliers, distributors no one else will find. Okay, trade shows is one of them. However, you've got to understand there are many methods to find these suppliers from all around the world, which can be profitable for your Amazon FBA wholesale business over the long term. Okay, so that's how you want to approach that, whereby you're developing strategies and methods to source unsaturated suppliers. Okay. Now, like I've said, I've got over 20, which I cover in my program. If you want to apply for that, link in the description down below. And how I've accumulated these strategies and methods is literally just by putting in time, figuring out different loopholes in which I can utilize to find suppliers no one else will. Okay, so that's the first one, boxed off, whereby we are finding suppliers first. Now, next is product first. Now, what I mean by that is, well, product first and brand first sort of ties into one, sorry, but you'll see why I've done these separately. Now, product first. Now, this is whereby people will put in very basic parameters on, let's say, a certain software, right? Whereby the software has its own database and you can enter in parameters like, I want products between 10 and 20 quid. I want products that have a sales rank of under 10,000. I want a product which has a rating of over 4 stars, right? However, what you've got to understand, the common mistake which is done here is we are just bringing up listings that just fit these really basic parameters. That does not even mean we can source these listings at a profitable price point. Okay, so all we're doing is just bringing up listings that meet a parameter which we put in, that is it. That doesn't mean we can source them profitably. Okay, so how can we address these issues? Right. So it's basically by entering in different parameters using more complex softwares. For example, people do very, very low level searches using, let's say, Jungle Scout. Okay. However, what you want to be doing is using Keeper Product Finder and using higher level strategies and methods when it comes to entering in these parameters, whereby instead of entering in stringent parameters like you're on Jungle Scout, like I've talked through, instead we want to be entering parameters that yield us results for trends. Okay, certain trends that we want to be finding in these listings. So we can go to Keeper Product Finder, literally entering data points that will give us products that fit certain trends of our liking. Now, obviously, we'll make sure these trends are lucrative for us. Okay, so we will literally have in front of our face listings with opportunities. Okay, so whereby we can press enter on that Keeper Product Finder filter search, that Keeper Product Finder search, sorry, and in front of us, it's literally listings which fit the mold of exactly what we want. Okay, fit the mold of listings with opportunities, whereby we know if we can go out and source this product, the opportunities that are there. Now, another issue which people make when it comes to sourcing these products from finding a listing first is the methods in which they use to actually locate the suppliers after finding a product at a very low level. For example, like I've just touched on one mistake now is very, very low level searches, which bring us very, very generic listings. We want to be doing high level searches for specific trends, right? Trends that suggest opportunities for us. Okay. So whereby we're looking at certain trends, which will essentially tell us, okay, this listing is more than likely to be profitable for us. So that's one mistake. And then the second mistake is, let's say they do find a listing which is great, okay, or which looks great on face value. When they go and then try and source a supply for this, they'll do like, let's say, for example, Colgate Wholesale UK. You're just going to get saturated supplies in front of your face and encounter the same issues we spoke about in point one, right? Where it's all these saturated supplies, nothing's going to be profitable. Even if it's profitable, it's going to tank. So what we want to do from there is, again, develop strategies and methods to find unsaturated suppliers from our products. Okay, so how can we use the fact that, okay, we want this Colgate product, but instead of just typing Colgate Wholesale UK or product name Wholesale UK, what other strategies can we use to locate suppliers for this product that no one else would be able to locate? Okay, suppliers in Poland, France, or parts of the UK which are unsaturated. Okay, suppliers in the UK which are unsaturated, which no one else is going to find. How can we source these suppliers from using the product? Okay, so that's something you want to think about. How to actually source these products, right? Like I've said, is by developing certain trends and strategies. For example, one example I can give you, again, on this as well, we have over 10 methods on this in my program. But one example I can give you is, for example, sourcing listings whereby Amazon's on the listing but not in the buy box. Because a lot of people avoid listings which Amazon is on. However, let's say Amazon's on a listing, but they haven't had the buy box in the last 3 years. You've got to understand a listing like this is very, very low risk, right? And then from that, it's okay, how do we go and source a supplier for this product? Okay. Again, I cover this in my program, right? How can we find suppliers for these products that we find, which we're not going to find on Google? Okay, so that's that. So when we're finding our products first, we've got to make sure, we're doing high level searches, whereby we're not just presented with these listings which are very basic. We literally want to have listings whereby we're looking at the data and be like, oh, holy moly, there's opportunity here for job this listing. And B, once we found these listings, we want to develop or have certain strategies to find suppliers that other people won't find from these products. Now, next is brand. Okay, now this, like, common mistake here is people do very, very low level searches, again, using very simple softwares like Jungle Scout. Or, for example, you're literally at people just going through Amazon bestsellers. Now, you've got to understand a mistake that people make here. It's the same for product first as well, Amazon bestsellers. Now, the mistake when people use Amazon bestsellers, when it comes to product first and brand first, let's just say for product first, okay, let's go back to product first. They'll go on Amazon bestsellers, find a listing, but then they'll go in and do, let's say, Colgate Wholesale UK search. Again, we've discussed the negatives of that. You've got to develop certain strategies. If you do use that Amazon bestsellers to sort of start certain strategies to find suppliers and wholesalers other people won't find from these products, okay, like I've touched on. So brand first. Now, what are the common mistakes here? Well, the biggest mistake I see is, let's say, for example, someone's storefront stalking, right? Or someone's on Amazon bestsellers, or someone's found something on Jungle Scout, yeah? they'll go and contact these brands and get accounts open, but they will buy from the brands which are easy to get accounts open with, which is literally the opposite of what you want to do. Because if you can just contact a brand and be like, hi, can we open an account? They give you a price list. I do not care what you say. Even if it looks like that listing is going to make you $2,000 in the next 30 days, that ain't going to make you $2,000 a month. Okay? Because that brand's going to tank. Okay? Because you've just jumped on a listing there whereby any Tom, Dick, and Harry can jump on. Someone who started Amazon yesterday can jump on that listing. Pick up the phone, call that brand, hi, can we stock your products? Yeah, here, has our price list. That listing's going to tank, or all those listings are going to tank, because you are going to get absolutely flooded, or that listing is going to get absolutely flooded with sellers. Okay, so that's a common mistake there. Okay, whereby people, they'll be like, oh, I'm going brand direct, I'm going brand direct. It's more longevity. No, there isn't. If it's a really easily accessible brand, or a brand that has like, there's no barrier to entry to getting with that brand. Okay, now common mistakes here is like we just touched on. Okay, well, like I've just said, common mistake here is opening accounts, doing business with really easily accessible brands. How can we address this issue? Very simple. The brands that have more friction, which are higher barrier to entry, which you have to go through more loopholes for, they're the brands that we want to work with. Okay, why is that? Because you want to essentially use your knowledge of Amazon, your positioning of your business, your value proposition, your understanding of data on Amazon to get these accounts open that these other low-level sellers won't be able to get accounts open with. Does that make sense? For example, now when we apply for brands, or when we've applied for brands in the past, it's like, oh, head up process, red flag. Okay, those brands are like, okay, hang on a second. Amazon, we're not sure about that. We don't really work with Amazon sellers. Like typically we don't work with Amazon sellers. Bang. Those are the brands that you want to work with. The brands that say no are the brands that you want. Because any other Amazon seller which goes to try and approach these brands ain't going to get these accounts open. Now you're probably thinking how to source and how to actually open these accounts. Obviously, I cover this in my program. I'm not going to go to it and like the intricacies, but very simply, you've got to understand, you've got to utilize your understanding of Amazon, your understanding of data on Amazon, and essentially the value that you can add to these brands as a result of being an Amazon seller. Okay, that's how you're going to source and get accounts open with these brands. Know that Amazon seller will, and it's all these things that will give you the longevity within your business. Okay, so on each of the 3 points we've discussed: supplier, product, brand, how to source, but essentially sourcing in a way which is to a much higher level and will bring our wholesale business longevity and profits over the long term, because that's what we're after when we're doing an Amazon FBA wholesale business, or running an Amazon FBA wholesale business, sorry. So that's that for this video. Any questions, leave them down below in the comments. If you want to apply for my program where I cover this in extreme depths and show you how to literally source Amazon FBA wholesale products, which will bring you consistent profits every single month, because we're doing everything to a high level, which will leave you with a long-term sustainable business, I'll show you all that. You can apply for my program in the link in the description. If you like the video, subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch everyone here in the next video.